Good crowd, great vibe, and perfect weather. Who doesn't love going to the beach?
This is the most important racetrack outside of the Indy 500 on the IndyCar schedule.
All right, everybody, we are 1 minute to the command. Let's listen for it on the PA. 1 minute. Radio check, driver, radio check. Loud and clear.
You know what we're trying to do here to start this thing off? You do you.
Got to execute. Be there, man. All right, boys. Been a good weekend so far. Let's finish strong.
There's so much on the line at this historic event. This is Long Beach. Who's still in search of his first IndyCar win. Here's Romain Grosjean with James.
Hey, Romain, it's Hinch up in the NBC booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes.
Well, hey, buddy, great start to the season pace-wise, but the results haven't quite been there. Andretti Autosport very quick so far here this weekend, but how important is it for you to get a result, get some points on the board, and really kickstart your season?
Well, it is the key. So we're going to do everything we can to achieve that. We've got a good car, we've got good pace, so pretty excited about that. And yeah, we should see the first. It's going to be very important for us.
Well, we're excited to watch and see what you can do, but best of luck. Go get them.
Thank you.
That's the former F1 driver who stood on a Formula One podium 10 times. He's been on the IndyCar podium, but he's yet to win. It could be today. He was magical here last year. As we take you to our Acura starting grid, his Andretti Autosport teammate Kyle Kirkwood starts on the pole.
Yeah, and he's got two really experienced champions, teammates, Dixon and Palou just behind him. So Grosjean's got his work cut out for him further back. Some muscle back there. Watch Graham Rahal in that number 15 car. He's always great on the starts. He picks up opportunistic moments at the right time and manages to pull off miracles.
All right, time for the Honda track preview. Hinch, take us around.
What a great racetrack. Turn one, a lot of action, a lot of passing opportunities there. Iconic turns like the Fountain there through turns 2 and 3. We saw some big accidents in turn 5 because of the curbs. Turn 6, where Romain Grosjean is right now, is right along him. This is a new pavement section for the year, and turn 8's got a whole new challenge with this big bump, Townsend.
Yeah, that bump is right there. Don't see it under the pace lap, but you will see it as speed. As we thank Honda for the track preview, we'll see that bump on lots of onboards today.
Leading this field to green here in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach is the 2023 Acura NSX with that Japanese anime Chalky design. It's very cool. Look, if you're watching in southern Florida, particularly on the east coast around the Jupiter area, Fort Lauderdale, anywhere around there, this is your man. 24-year-old Floridian Kyle Kirkwood is leading this field to green in all of the junior categories. This guy knows nothing but winning. IndyCar last year in his rookie year was a tough task, but now he heads this star-studded field at the biggest event outside the Indianapolis 500. The Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach is away. It's a great start.
Kirkwood, no stranger to leading the junior formulas, but this is his first time in the big leagues as Ericsson goes to the outside.
Pato O'Rourke trying to make it 3 wide. It's going to be Kyle Kirkwood leading, but side by side, Grosjean and Joseph Newgarden heading into the foul. This is one lane only, Townsend.
Indeed it is. They file in, well, 2 wide there for Will Power, and already is that Helio Castroneves in the wall? It is.
Helio Castroneves, the 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner, smashes into the wall and is out of this race.
Front wing is effectively gone, folded up on the car, and then backed into the wall.
Now they can get that back and get it fixed, but he is out of contention for any great result here. He is a Long Beach winner, and what a shame for the Meyer Shank, the AutoNation Sirius XM car. Oh, as soon as we go green, we go yellow.
And let's figure out what happened, James. You called it. It's normally single groove through here. Castroneves comfortably inside the number 45 of Christian Lundgaard. Did he get tapped?
No, I think he just
lose it?
I think he took a lot of curb into turn 1. Yeah, cold tires, Townsend. You know, the cars at the back of the grid. Long Beach is so unique in the way that last corner really spreads out the back of the grid on the start. They're arriving with a lot more speed, didn't quite have the heat in the tires, took a lot of curve, got aggressive on the throttle, and that was enough to pitch him around.
So critical here. If they can fire up Castroneves, the leaders are just about to come through turn 1. He might be able to
difference right there. You managed to keep the car out of the wall. I think all the suspensions pointed the right direction. The leader's coming now.
It's going to be so close. There he goes. He just made it.
Look at that. In the nick of time to stay on the lead lap.
Keep going.
But he's got to get all the way around at speed and try to get a gap. They're going to tell him to stay on the racetrack until he packs up to the tail end. But he has absolutely no downforce on the front of that race car. However, if the thing hits square into the wall and it just needs a nose and wing, Helio Castroneves might be okay to have a challenge from the very back on the lead lap.
And there is the Meyer Shank crew getting ready for the 06 Honda. What a shame. All right, so while Elio scrambles and we're under caution, not even a full racing lap complete, let's take you to the global medical response, or the GMR track facts. There has been so much Indycar and racing in general, Formula 1, Formula 5000. We had the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race yesterday. So much racing history on these famed streets, and there's some important numbers on your screen right there.
I'm surprised Helio Castroneves came straight to the pits and didn't stay out to catch the field, because the leader, Kirkwood, and the pace car are in turn 9, and I think we're told now that IndyCar officials insisted that he come to the pits. This is so key now, is getting this wing on, James, swiftly.
Yeah, there's a connection that they have to make there. It's a tether to make sure the nose cone doesn't fly off. That's the thing they're trying to mess with right now. Kevin, what do you know down there?
Right now, the plan is to only change the front wing. They're not looking at any other suspension parts, so they're hoping that that's the only issue. They don't seem to be concerned, so they are back out, and I think stayed on the lead lap, Marty.
Kevin, you don't hear Scott Dixon upset very much, but he is livid about the start of the race. He started 5th. He has lost 2 spots. Here's why he's upset. Hinch, I'd love to get your take on this. He said both Pat O'Ward and Joseph Newgarden were on the gas before the leaders were on the gas. We mentioned earlier, those were the 2 cars in the top 10 that were on the primary tire, so a quick start for them was uber critical. Dixon not happy. He lost 2 spots. What do you think?
Yeah, you can't be mad at the drivers in that case. When you look at it, they're just trying to catch up to the back of the field. Like I was saying earlier, Long Beach is so unique in that it's the only track we go to where you can't run side by side to the last corner. You can't start forming up too wide until you get on the straightaway, and the cars that are 5th, 6th, 7th are just trying to catch up to the group if the green flag is thrown early. So that's really nothing the drivers could do there.
Good to get a look at that replay, and there was actually a little side-to-side, wheel-to-wheel contact between Marcus Ericsson, Kyle Kirkwood, and Joseph Newgarden, with the flyer going from 8th to 4th, flying down into turn 1. There's Helio Castroneves having to watch everybody go by.
Almost made it. We didn't quite. You just saw the onboard of Castroneves, the pace car driven by Oreo Servia, just passing him on pit lane. That was so close, and what a kick to the gut to start this race, knowing that he almost held on. So now Castroneves, a lap down, has to let the field by for this restart.
This place is hard enough as it is without being a lap down.
The bummer is it looks like the rest of his car is perfectly fine despite pretty big impact. It's the nose cone that took all of the hit.
All right, you ready to do it again? Let's repack, let's regroup, and let's get ready to go again. Watch Scott Dixon, if he's fired up inside that helmet. What's he going to do at this restart?
And look for anybody maybe trying to be cheeky on the inside of the hairpin here. As soon as the green flag flies for the leaders, you can race. So there you go.
Dixon thought about it.
And he's right with his teammate there in that bright green car. That's Alex Palou right behind him in that yellow and black car. The Cambridge Honda is Colton Herder. Back to racing here on the streets of Long Beach, and Kyle Kirkwood is gone. Takes off on a beautiful restart.
I'm looking at Colton Herta on the outside of Scott Dixon here. You don't want him in your mirrors. He is so good at passing here at Long Beach. Won the race from 14th on the grid. One of only a handful of drivers who's won from further back than 5th. And if you ride aboard the Cambridge Honda, he is all over the back of that blue and orange machine of Scott Dixon.
Alex Palou's been looking pretty racy. That green car on the back of Pato O'Ward had a pretty aggressive looking start. He goes to the inside, into 6th. Nice move.
And that's the difference between the primaries and the alternates. The number 10, Alex Palou, as we look at Scott Dixon maybe trying to cross over. He's on those softer alternate tires with the green sidewalls. That's going to give him more grip, especially on these restarts, as now Scott Dixon's looking to make that move on O'Ward, who's on the primaries.
But watch for O'Ward a little later on. We'll follow that story for you as this race grows on. Let's go for a ride with Colton Herta. Have a listen to the throttle out of the hairpin.
Just looking at the Firestone telemetry down shoreline. How fast can Colton Herta go in the draft?
You see the green lights on the dash all over the push to pass, now active.
186 miles an hour into a really hard brake zone, and then you file into this fountain section, hanging onto the back. And Award, like we talked about, really kind of struggling to hold position here on the harder tire for now.
200 seconds of push to pass, by the way. You can deploy it in as much as 20-second distributions. We'll see who uses them the wisest. Here's a couple of teammates here on screen. Remember now, in 2023, 3 Arrow McLaren cars, and diving on the inside in the NTT Data number 7 machine, that's Alexander Rossi.
And guys, that's a move that you would not have seen before that repave. It was so bumpy on the inside of turn 8 there, that would have been really hard to do. So great to see that those improvements to the racetrack are improving the passing opportunities for these drivers.
And an interesting team dynamic here. With Rossi, you've got a guy that's just joined the organization. He's got a multi-year contract. And Felix Rosenquist, you've got a guy that's been on the team, but no guarantee of a future with this race team. So all of those subtleties play out as the cat and mouse game, even within your own race team, plays out here on the streets.
Let's not forget about the fact that the second-year IndyCar driver, first-time pole winner, Kyle Kirkwood, leads the way and has almost a 1-second advantage, Dave, over Marcus Ericsson, the Indy 500 champ.
And Lee, remember what he told Marty Snyder in the pre-race show, that he's very comfortable being up front there, loves that clean air. In fact, in every professional open-wheel series that Kyle has ever raced in, he's had a pole position, so he knows that feeling. His concern, the car is coming behind him later in this first stint on the harder alternators, like Pato Award. Will that happen? We'll keep our eye on it.
He's enjoying this view. He's used to this view. He's only had it once in his brief IndyCar career. That was last year at Texas. All right, we're racing. We're up and running here at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. It's Kyle Kirkwood, the 24-year-old American, who leads the way over the reigning Indianapolis 500 winner Marcus Ericsson, and then Romain Grosjean is third. Joseph Newgarden, the defending race winner, is fourth, and Alex Palou in the top 5 on the streets, where he was crowned a champion. This is Callum Isla in the 77 for Honko's Hollinger Racing. And you saw during that break, he dove for the pit, and this is the reason why.
Had a puncture to the right front. Oh! Flipped the wall really hard. And I gotta think there's more damage than just the tire there. Started to come apart on this in-lap. He had to come to pit lane for the tire change. He went a lap down. And now he's just in the middle of the lead lap pack.
He may have gotten away without any more damage. Oh, that was close. Trying to nurse it back to the pits with the tire off like that or going off like that. It's so frustrating, Townsend. You know, you want to get back as quickly as possible, but if you go too fast, you can actually do so much more damage to that car. You can see the rim just shattered.
And that really hurts. That hurts twice as hard, Dave, because this British driver was in 7th in points coming into this race. He's going to drop now.
And it's been a tough weekend for him. A practice crash and something that maybe wasn't entirely his fault, and he was just upset about that. And then had unreasonable qualifying issue. That contact with the ball, that wheel was destroyed. That was pretty hard contact. So he's got to come out of this, hopefully this weekend, with something. What can they do from here, being off the pace? They had just come down pit road to put on these primaries. They start on the alternates, so we have that for strategy, but it's going to be a long day for Callum.
You see Will Power there in the Verizon Chevy just whip on by. Unfortunately, qualifying wasn't great for Will Power either. None of the Penske trio made it into the Firestone Fast 6. Highest placed Penske Chevrolet driver at the moment, Joseph Newgarden in fourth. Here's the race leader, Kyle Kirkwood. Was tipped by many to be Rookie of the Year last year. It did not materialize. It was a rough year. He only had one top 10, fellas. Guess where that was? Right here on these streets. So he's got some good mojo.
You know, and something that I think for me really stood out about Kirkwood last year, tough rookie season. A lot of crashes, James. Never really got rattled. never really questioned himself. He processed what happened, but he didn't buy into the anxiety that we all had for his career at that moment. Maybe that's because he knew all along that he had this opportunity, this great contract with Andretti and Auto for year 2. But here at Long Beach today, everything I'm seeing on board and outside of the car suggests he is totally comfortable, totally confident, and within himself leading an IndyCar race.
Yeah, he's doing an absolutely great job. You can hear him just saving a little bit of fuel now, Townsend, trying to take care of those alternate Firestone tires. The teams are going to want to do a two-stopper, that's for sure. Those yellow laps at the start are going to help that fuel save number. To make the two-stopper work, though, you do have to save a little bit, and that means you have to run these alternate tires for a decent length stint. And we know they're faster, but they do fall off more. In warm-up, it was a little bit of a mixed bag about who actually ran them long to see what that degradation level was like, but so far up front, this 27 is absolutely doing a great job.
Kyle Kirkwood is in his natural habitat, and what I mean by that, he's in the sunshine by the sea. Grew up in Florida, still lives the majority of the time in Florida. He loves surfing, he loves diving, he loves snorkeling. This is where he likes to be, and he's performing at his best.
He likes to chill, and he's chilling right now at the front. How do we know that? Well, look at the push-to-pass seconds remaining. Kirkwood's felt no pressure from behind. He hasn't even touched the button. Smooth sailing right now at the beach, Marty.
Townsend the weekend got off to a terrific start for Pato O'Ward. Fastest in first practice, fastest in second practice, and then qualifying did not go so well. I asked him this morning, I think in the past you would have let that get to you. He said, you're probably right, but I have a different approach this year. I'm taking it literally weekend by weekend, session by session, lap by lap, and whatever happened in the past is in the past. I'm focused forward, and I think even on this run, he restarted 5th. He's fallen back a little bit. So Hinch, talk about Pato O'Ward kind of driving sort of within himself this year and how that's changed him as a driver.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that maturity out of Pato O'Ward that was maybe missing in his first few seasons in IndyCar, both inside the car and outside of the car. He's a more confident guy. He seems to know that this is his place. There was some distractions last year with the Formula One opportunity being dangled in front of him by that man right there, the team owner of McLaren, Zach Brown. But now he knows his home's in IndyCar, his future's in IndyCar, and he's really settling in nicely to very strong, very mature drives in the first 2 races of the season, and that's why this team is atop the points right now.
Zach Brown taking in all the glory of the Long Beach weekend. He was in a vintage Williams Formula One car.
Alan Jones, 1980 World Championship winning car.
Southern California native Zach Brown, team principal at McLaren F1 and McLaren IndyCar, having tons of fun in the South.
And Townsend, to the point about Formula One that James made a second ago, it's actually here last year, Saturday night in his hotel room, and he just woke up and O'Ward said to himself, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting myself through all this pressure? If my home is IndyCar, that's okay. If F1 happens, he told me this morning, Hitch, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I love being here in IndyCar, and he's certainly a star right now. Pato O'Ward mania is a real thing.
And look, in addition to the throng of supporters, maybe there is a period of maturation here with this young Mexican driver, because I spoke to him after Texas, where he had to swallow that bitter pill again of finishing runner-up for the 2nd consecutive race, and he had a very philosophical view. He said, hey, the racing gods weren't looking on me today. I'll take what I got and I move on. In the past, he got a little bit more fired up than that. So maybe he's having a holistic view of this racing season, and maybe, just maybe, that's why he is the NTT IndyCar Series championship leader. Already 16 laps into this 85-lap Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Time now for the Honda driver profile, and it's one of the young stars of this series. None other than California's own Colton Herta, who knows how to win. He's done it here. This is his home race, although he lives in Nashville, Tennessee now. This guy is one of the future faces of the NTT IndyCar Series.
You gotta love that. Celebrates race wins with tacos. Luckily, his race team has King Taco on board. See that year after year here at Long Beach? Sometimes they make their way to the booth mid-race.
I asked him about the King Taco Association the other day, and I said, was that because we spoke about it on air, or you used to do the tacos after winning in your go-kart days? He said, do you know that King Taco has been with the Herta family way back to when my dad raced? No, my dad even had King Taco on his helmet back in the day. That's pretty cool.
Speaking of his dad, this is the second race where Colton Herta does not hear Father Brian and former IndyCar driver on the radio. They made the switch, Andretti, the team did, moving Scott Harder from the 27 Kyle Kirkwood's team over. Kirkwood gets Brian Herta on his stand and on the radio. So far, Colton having a decent race, Kyle Kirkwood having a great race.
If you're a Scott Dixon fan, there's some alarming news. Not too bad, but that's a scuff of the wall that Scott Dixon and the PNC Bank Honda team did not want to see.
You know, when you hit square like that, you can get away with it. The edge of the floor, right below the side pod, actually sits a few fractions of an inch out further than the wheels and tires themselves. So if you hit it square, you can sometimes just sort of bounce off of the floor and not affect it too much. We did see a little bit of tire mark there, so he did rub it, but I don't think it was enough to bend anything.
Things starting to get tight here. That's the white and black car of Joseph Newgarden on that harder primary tire with a great run down shoreline on Grosjean. Looks outside, ducks inside.
And he's going to get him. Under brakes into turn one. Joseph Newgarden. That means he's made up 5 positions from the drop of the green flag in the Hitachi Chevrolet. And the defending race winner wants to defend that victory. He's on the move.
And Marty, we've been talking about this all weekend. Penske, strong over a long run. Good at taking care of the tires, but they don't have that one-lap speed on new tires. They're starting to show that muscle, that durability at this point in the stint.
Yeah, Joseph Newgarden called that shot Friday afternoon, didn't he, with that first practice session? But Newgarden was the real winner from the start of the race. Started 8th, gained 4 spots on the first lap. That does not happen very often. And what you're seeing right now, that call to start the race on the primaries really coming to fruition. Kevin, he's been the fastest car on the track for the last 5 laps.
And the young man that won this race 2 years ago, Californian Colton Herta, is hoping that a tire advantage comes into play. He has the extra set of the softer alternates. He told me this morning, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to use those. We want to get rid of the alternates and they go primaries the rest of the way, unless somehow we get a shorter stint. And then we would have that for the last stint of the race. Dave.
This is for Townsend, who is telling a story about Brian Herta being Kyle Kirkwood's signal caller now. Here's the recent radio.
Let me know if shadows start slicing through. No, not yet, not yet. You're doing fine. We're okay. Pace is good. First car in black for Newgarden's P4, but he isn't passing anybody. He did that all in the starter. Okay, cool.
So the driver wanted to know about those 2 drivers, O'Ward and Newgarden. When I talked to Brian Herta this morning about the new relationship, he was so excited. He said extra special to see Kyle Kirkwood on the pole. He said, for my son Colton, I've seen all of his first pole, first start, first win. Oh, and now you got a car in the barrier there. Brian would love to see the first win today.
Scott Dixon, we saw him tag the wall. We showed you that replay, and now he is in to the tire barrier at turn 8. It is a regular trap, no matter what the form of racing here on the streets of Long Beach. But what happened to Dixon?
Look at those skid marks there. Early lockup, both left sides and right sides. You can see the tracks. Braking issue, Hinch. I wonder what happened. Oh, Pato, is that?
That is Pato.
O'Ward inside.
Like I said, this kind of move, you never would have seen this last year or in the last bunch of years here at Long Beach. That new pavement just giving drivers the confidence of throwing it down the inside. And let's see it from Pato's onboard.
And I'm sure Dixon was just surprised.
That's a late move.
It came late, but the contact was square, shoulder to shoulder, perfect alignment. And I would assume IndyCar calls that a racing incident.
Well, that one's on the edge for sure, because you got to think from Scott Dixon's standpoint, he's turned in, committed to the corner, not thinking anyone was there. Then after he's committed his rolling speed, his turn-in point, the car shows up. One thing IndyCar looks at in that type of contact is, what is the outcome? Do both cars go off, come back on? Does one keep going and one's race ruined? So,
and a lot of times it's the pendulum of responsibility.
The needle of responsibility. That's how they use
either one of them.
That's how they go.
This is the driver in the series nobody wants to upset. There is so much respect and reverence for this man here, the 6-time champion.
Absolutely. I mean, he is widely regarded throughout the paddock as the greatest of the generation, without a doubt. There is not a weakness in Scott Dixon's game. He is, an elder statesman, so to speak, in the series now, but a lot of the drivers look up to him, his opinion. He's been through a lot in this series. And
here's the thing also. also, Hinch, that I think you got to take into consideration is the tires, right? Pato on the harder compound, Dixon on the softer compound. Pato's watching Newgarden go forward. Dixon knows this is the point in the stint that you should see the crossover. How much does that weigh into the needle of responsibility in that situation? So I just think that in terms of race control, looking at this, to me it's a racing incident. I do agree Pato came from far back, but for the situation of the stint with the tire compounds, it was on.
And the other part to remember is, again, there's not a lot of experience with being passed there, because in the past, it's not been a passing opportunity. Marty, what do you know?
Well, whether race control calls it or not, just remember, Scott Dixon was not very happy with Pato O'Ward from the start of the race and the way he started the race. So I'm sure this is not going to dissuade him at all for his anger for the 5.
Yeah, this will be a to-be-followed topic for sure. By the way, that was for 4th place, because you see, rather 6th place, you see Alex Palou in the top 5 up ahead of Pato O'Ward. So 2nd full course caution of this race, still in the early part. Pits are open, and you're hearing the call there from the various pit boxes. We will pit. So let's see what goes down here. It's been a fairly calm race thus far, except for those 2 caution periods. A lot of lead follow. This is going to jumble things up. Let's see who gets out of the pits the best. Kevin Lee standing by. Take it away, Kev.
Marcus Ericsson has already won on a street course this year. 3 of his 4 wins on the streets. No changes this time. He has an easy in coming in off the ream around Scott McLaughlin and come back out. A lot of traffic today.
Ryan Herta called the timing of this caution pretty much ideal. So is his Spencer onto pit road. Kyle Kirkwood away with brand new primaries.
Within the window, Dave, to make it to the end on just one more stop, you see Joseph Newgarden, who storms through the field on the primary tires. He goes to the alternate tires and then gains 4 spots here on pit road. He'll leave 2nd right behind Kirkwood.
My goodness, did you see that Hitachi Chevy just fishtailing out into the fast lane on pit road? Joseph Newgarden knew the desperation. There's Kyle Kirkwood getting by. Newgarden didn't want to lose a spot and puts himself behind the race leader. Whoa! We're back. Welcome back here to Long Beach, California. Always great to make this annual trip out west for one of the sport's most famous events. The honor roll of winners here, the who's who of motorsport. By the way, if you're into motorsport history, the legend Jackie Ickx, 6-time Le Mans 24-hour winner, Formula One Grand Prix winner, Paris-Dakar winner, World Sports Car Champion. Yes, he is here. He was honored by the Road Racing Drivers Club on Thursday night. Jackie and his wife are here and really enjoying their time. We got to talk to him a little bit before the pre-race show. Let's relive this wild moment off pit lane with Joseph Newgarden.
Beautiful piece of driving diff from Newgarden, slipping the clutch, working the tire spin, and all the while just avoiding Kyle Kirkwood. Great stuff on pit lane.
And we've talked a lot about pit lane in the last little while. Contact leads to penalties, so great job from both these drivers to avoid touching each other and any of the members in pit lane. It's so tight down there.
So that gives Newgarden a fair shot, a square shot at Kyle Kirkwood. Now, Augustine Canapino stayed out. That's the black and green car you see there, Carly. He is off sequence with everybody else. So Kirkwood is ostensibly the race leader. You see Elio Castro Neves there in the mix. The pink car you see third is Kirkwood, then Newgarden. We're back to racing in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Kind of a weird situation because Castro Neves is sort of trapped. He didn't get the wave around, and now you've got Callum Eilert coming out of the pits in front of his teammate. This is going to stack up all the true race leaders, starting with Kirkwood going back. Watch the frustration develop here quickly.
Oh boy, did you see Marcus Ericsson get sideways on acceleration there in that white and red Husky chocolate Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing. Sideways goes Canapino.
That allows Elio Castro Neves now to try to get around Canapino. He's going to do it on the outside of turn 6, side by side, as we see one of the McLarens, Pato O'Ward, going inside of Grosjean.
Oh, it's on. Look at this. Down to turn 8. Here comes O'Ward again. Pato O'Ward spins. Ericsson hits him. Kirkwood gets away with it.
And O'Ward thought, now I can get Kyle Kirkwood, but it was too much, too late. And O'Ward goes backwards.
That was desperate from the championship leader.
Imagine what Kyle Kirkwood's dealing with right now. He was leading comfortably. Now he's got lap cars and chaos as Newgarden's in the lead.
My goodness. Cars out of mix, out of the order. Scott McLaughlin has vaulted his way up there. Here goes Newgarden. He wants to get through this traffic. This is Elio Castro-Neves wheel-to-wheel in turn one. The defending race winner is clear of that. There's just one more, and he's going to take off with a clear road ahead.
Now remember, Joseph was able to switch onto those softer alternate tires. They were always going to be better on the restart, as we saw Castro-Neves get big sideways there. So it's no surprise Newgarden was able to get ahead of the 27 of Kyle Kirkwood, but eventually, as we saw in that stint, those alternates are going to start falling off and come back towards the primary runners.
Kyle Kirkwood just needs to stay calm right now, but further back, nobody's calm as Agustin Canapino continues to fall through the field. And James, the sun is fully out now, and the track temperature is rising quickly, now 106 degrees. So, to your point, Newgarden has to make these tires last as the heat rises.
All right, let's take you back, show you what happened on that lap from the restart. Check this out. You're on board with Kyle Kirkwood. There's Canapino gets sideways. Kirkwood hits him. There goes Newgarden flashing by on the run downhill to turn 8. This is Pato O'Ward. Watch this move and spin.
Oh, boy.
Just so impatient. We talked about it at the top of the show. That's not the kind of move you need to make at that part of the race. He's got those alternate tires on, got in way too deep, trying to pass Marcus Ericsson, got all the way up to the car in front and Kyle Kirkwood. So within 2 corners, your former leader Kirkwood was hit twice.
Yeah, and the other thing was Canapino clipped the wall, too, at the apex of turn 6. So that's really what stacked everybody up, as Canapino was trying to figure out if his race car was even drivable. That was on board with Grosjean.
Another on-board look here, and with the car stop there, the number 5 contact with Ericsson, that's damage probably to the 8. We saw the 10 of Alex Palou get caught up on the outside of this wreck. He lost a lot of time as well. You see Scott McLaughlin going by, and there's a replay, David Malukas.
Oh boy, all locked up and over that orange line, and then runs deep into turn 1. David had a big accident yesterday, was cleared by Indycar Medical early this morning, and he was okay to partake in the morning warm-up. And of course, this Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, there has been some big movers in this most recent portion of the race, like Scott McLaughlin, like Alexander Rossi. He's in the mix. Romain Grosjean got lucky there at turn 8, ducking up the inside. Marcus Armstrong, the rookie, is running in the top 10. That's pretty good. Here comes Ericsson on Rossi. Is there any damage to the front left of his wing where he clipped Pato O'Ward in that altercation? Just at a quick look there, it looks fine.
Looks fine, and certainly looks fine in terms of performance, outbreaking Rossi going into turn 1. Watching the pace, too, from Kirkwood there, just 1.1 seconds behind Newgarden. And boy, I feel like Kirkwood just escaped total disaster there with those slower cars on the restart. A hard-charging O'Ward. It's just a massive break for the young American Kirkwood to still be in second. Let's head back down to pit lane, learn more about the 27, Dave.
And so to your point there, Townsend, he did escape all that. No word on the radio to any of the contact causing damage for Kyle Kirkwood. He was warned that on the restart, Newgarden would be on those softer tires and maybe coming through. He was not warned that that could all happen. But hey, that's just about it. IndyCar racing. He now runs second, Kevin.
Dave, as you might have guessed, and as Hinch said, there could be some damage with Marcus Ericsson, but they have telemetry to help monitor those things. And they told him about 3 minutes ago, COP, center of pressure, looks okay, car is good, keep going forward, and he is, Marty.
Kevin Will Anderson, the strategist for Pato O'Ward, said that Pato radioed in, said the car is fine. The rear's just locked up on him. He's all the way back to 13th. But Hinch, I'm sure you've been in this position before. With those alternate tires, it's tempting to get as much as you can on a restart when those positions are maybe available. Meanwhile, Joseph Newgarden has that same temptation. Out front, maybe run as hard as he wants to, but Tim Cindric has told him, you can't do it. We have to make the fuel stretch here, so expect Newgarden to keep Kirkwood behind him, but closely behind him, and not try and check out here.
And that's the strategy, is you got to just take care of those tires, not make that gap any bigger than it has to be. It's tough to pass here in Long Beach, so a very, very heads-up call from the Penske team and Joseph Newgarden.
He is doing everything he can, and maybe it was that move out of pit lane, maybe it was the move exiting turn 6 to defend that race win of a year ago. Let's talk about one of the 3 Rahal Letterman Lanigan cars. It's the Custom Entertainment number 30. That is a new number this year and sponsor for Jack Harvey in car 30, who, by the way, turned 30 years of age yesterday. He's got the birthday vibes going, and boy, he is on target, guys, for his best result of the year. Long way to go, but Jack is knocking on the door of a top 10.
Yeah, it must be a breath of fresh air for sure for Harvey. We haven't seen him running this competitively for a while. Tough start to the season for that whole Rahal Letterman Lanigan team, but they're starting to find their feet. There's Graham Rahal, teammate in the United Rentals car. Always a great racer.
Graham already up 8 spots from the start, so doing what he does on Sundays. See something flapping there on the left-hand side mirror. Oh,
gone now.
Gone now. A little bit of hesitate maybe, but yeah, great to see Jack Harvey running just outside the top 10. Rahal's just stuck in this line of cars. It's so frustrating when you feel like you have more pace than the cars in front of you. He's on the alternates, Rinus VeeKay in front on those primaries. But he just needs to take care of the tires and take care of some fuel at this point.
Take a look at some Firestone telemetry as we are aboard this United Rentals Honda. Take a look at the bottom left of your screen to get some, at times, some eye-popping numbers. And while we ride with Graham, I want to draw your eyes as well to the timing order. Scott McLaughlin joined us in the NBC Sports booth yesterday for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race with Calvin Fish and myself for the last part of the race. He said, I can win this race, this IndyCar race on Sunday, despite starting 9th. T-Bell, he's already up to 4th.
Doing a great job here under pressure, though, from Colton Herta, who's just kind of lurking there in that black and yellow Gatebridge car. Thought about having a look, decided to tuck back in, and you instantly have to look at the tire situation. Herta on the harder compound, McLaughlin on the softer alternate. So Herta's going to be up in the seat here over the next 5 to maybe 7 laps, waiting for that transition point to where Herta knows he's got a tire advantage.
And this might be the real first test of the season to see who's getting better fuel mileage out of the 2 engine partners, Honda and Chevrolet, because all of these drivers pit on lap 22. They all have to hit a pretty big number, but if we're seeing one or the other able to really eke out a bit more power, a bit more lap time, and if you see, you know, the Hondas from the Andretti Autosport cars all over the back of the Chevys of the Team Penske cars right
Jeff, I just talked about tires. Maybe we're seeing the crossover point a little earlier. Maybe Newgarden's a bit surprised that those softer alternates are starting to give up as Kyle Kirkwood is really making a charge.
This is the stuff made of dreams for this young star from Florida. Kyle Kirkwood taking a run on 2-time series champion Joseph Newgarden.
The reason he has to announce that to the team is because of fuel. If you're going to make a pass here, you got to get on that push to pass. It's an up in boost pressure in the turbo, a little bit of a raise in revs. It gives you about 50 horsepower and a couple miles an hour, but it burns more fuel. So in this key moment, you cannot just be trigger happy on the push to pass button. You've got to be very methodical and meticulous with how you burn those numbers.
It's like laying out a plate full of gummy bears in front of me. It's there, but I can't eat it because I need to keep the weight down. In this case, Kyle can't use that button because he knows he's got to hit a fuel number. So it's so tempting with 182 seconds of push to pass for Kyle Kirkwood, but you hear the big coast phase. That's to save the gas and get the range you need to finish on one more stop.
In his defense, he's been one of the more conservative with that push to pass, but in fairness, he did lead 21 laps of this race, so he didn't need to utilize it. So that's why he's got a little bit more in the bank as we slowly, not there yet, but we're slowly approaching the halfway mark of this Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Joseph Newgarden for Team Penske. Hitachi Chevy leads the Auto Nation Honda of Kyle Kirkwood for Andretti Autosport. Marty.
Diff about 20 laps from that second stop. They'll pit in the mid-50 range. So Townsend, talk to me about the tough job here for Joseph Newgarden. That was his radio a moment ago, saying Kirkwood's making a run. Tim Cindric reminded him you cannot give up the track position. So he has to keep that in mind, but he also had to save his tires and save fuel to make it another 20 laps. How tough is that job out front?
It's very tough, but I'll tell you, nobody's got more experience of successfully executing that strategy than that guy right there, Tim Cindric, the president of the race team and the strategist for Newgarden. The two of them have gotten it right more times than not on strategy, James. And if you're Joseph Newgarden, you've got to remember, I have Team Penske on pit lane as well. When it comes to those green flag stops, there's no faster gun in the West than Team Penske.
Well, with thanks to NTT, let's have a look at the pit stop prediction. And listen, strategically speaking, Tim Cindric, Joseph Newgarden, what they did last year and staying out a little longer, doing what we call the overcut on Alex Palou was masterful. Joseph said, in all of my IndyCar races, that was one of the most proud moments of the way that I drove to be able to keep Palou behind me under intense pressure, lap after lap, to grind it out and to finally, on his 10th attempt, get a victory here at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Yeah, it was a masterful defensive drive from Joseph Newgarden here last year, and he's having to do the same thing, but there's nothing worse as a driver than having your strategist come over the radio and say, take care of your tires, save fuel, and don't lose any spots. It's one of the hardest jobs out there, and I gotta be honest, big props to Kyle Kirkwood. He does not have anywhere near the experience saving fuel, conserving your tires in this sort of race situation as a Joseph Newgarden would, but he is keeping him honest, less than a second behind.
I'll tell you who's keeping him honest is Grosjean, the teammate to Kirkwood. He's getting closer, Dick. This is going to play out in spectacular fashion.
Grosjean chased Newgarden down last year and almost won here. He finished runner-up at this famed race. Let's see what the Frenchman can do today. Moving anywhere anytime soon, fellas?
I hope not.
All right, somebody who is moving and moving well is Joseph Newgarden. He's got Kyle Kirkwood chasing him down in that AutoNation pink Andretti Autosport Honda, and then right behind is Romain Grosjean. A few seconds back, Scott McLaughlin, then Colton Herta. You'll see them at the top of the hill. There they are. So there's the pretty decent gap from third back to fourth, fifth, and then Marcus Ericsson, but the pressure is on at the front.
This guy right here on the AutoNation onboard, Kyle Kirkwood, he is getting racy. He's used a little bit of that push to pass on the last lap, fastest lap on the track. So he is maybe starting, maybe he got a call from the radio back in the pit lane saying, hey, you know what, let's just go for this.
Well, this is the point where Newgarden presumably is struggling on the tires as Kirkwood's steering wheel lights up like a Christmas tree. All the green lights suggesting he's on push to pass. Listen to this radio.
Okay, we can start putting some pressure on Joseph now. This is 17 laps on this set of tires. Copy that.
That's the transition point. They're reminding Kirkwood, hey, this is where those softer greens are going to start to fall apart for Newgarden, so he might even get a shot going to turn 6. Kirkwood can be patient. It's going to continue to come his direction. He's right where he wants to be. Just wait for the right moment.
Dave?
They've retired Agustin Canapino's 78 car. Agustin, what happened?
Unfortunately, I lost a lot of time behind Callum because when after the pit, I lost a lot of time behind him, respect him. After that, Elliot tried to overtake me, and in this moment, touched the car, touched the wall, and broke the front left. Bad luck because it's a shame because we have a good car today with the black tires, but it's racing.
This fast rookie is out. That contact with Castro Neves broke something, Lee.
That's his first hiccup of his rookie IndyCar season. Agustin Canapino out. You know who else is out? Scott Dixon is out. We're going to get to that story in a moment. Kevin Lee will have more on that. Let's get back to the racing. Pressure on Scott McLaughlin. Here comes Colton Herta. Look at this yellow and black Gangbridge Honda. Sweeps around the outside, which gives him the inside run. Doesn't need it. He's already there. Herta past McLaughlin. And look in the background. Here comes Marcus Ericsson as well.
We're definitely at that crossover point, Townsend, with those alternate tires.
Absolutely. And you want to watch the young local kid hunt. Colton Herta will gobble up the gap in front of him and catch his teammate Grosjean very quickly as Kirkwood and Grosjean trapped a little bit behind Newgarden right now.
And here comes Ericsson looking down into turn 6. No protest from Scott McLaughlin. Realizes you're probably going to lose more time by fighting that for the next few corners than you are just to let him go, take the position, try and get him back through the pit sequence.
All right, let's talk more about the PNC Bank Honda number 9, Marty.
Yeah, unfortunate news. Scott Dixon, no oil pressure. He is off the track. Back in the paddock. We'll get a word with him in a moment. Hey, Townsend, let's play strategist. Closing in on about 8-10 laps until these stops happen. So how far do you push it? Do you assume there'll be some caution later in the race and bring your driver a little bit earlier if you're Tim Cindric and Joseph Newgarden? Or do you play it safe and leave them out into that 54-lap range that we showed just a moment ago? What do you think?
You pit early, you're going to be slow in that final stint if it stays green to save the fuel. fuel, but if you pit a little later, you're in that danger zone where if a yellow comes out, you fall victim to bad luck on timing, and that first driver to pit goes straight to the front of the queue. So it's just a pure gamble. I think you study the statistics of this race. I think it's probably more likely to finish under green than yellow based on what I've seen so far.
But at the same time, from a strategic standpoint, if you're the 27 of Kyle Kirkwood or the 28, this guy right here of Romain Grosjean, you're going to want to stretch it as far as you can. You want to force the driver ahead on the alternates to pit, do the overcut, run hot laps while they're trying to come up to speed, duck into pit lane and try to cycle ahead of them, as we see Rinus VeeKay on the inside of the 45 of Christian Lundgaard.
One thing we know about Newgarden is this battle continues. Whoa. Wow, that got close. Lundgaard on the outside, and I don't know if he can make it work there.
Hold on, good work.
Rinus VeeKay, very kind to leave a ton of space for Lundgaard at the apex.
That could have been ugly. And Benjamin Peterson, bottom of your screen, the Sexton Properties Chevrolet for AJ Foyt Racing.
If it's not running, it'll bring a yellow for that 55 of Peterson.
He's stranded turn 1 in the runoff area.
This is what Joseph Newgarden really kind of wants. It's still a little bit early, obviously.
Too early.
But it's too early for everyone, so you can get off of those alternate tires. You see him giving the international sign of I need to be started. They could try to leave it local, yellow, and get him restarted and not go full course caution.
Yeah, but that's a dangerous spot to put the AMR safety team. Let's see what happened to Benjamin Peterson. Those right sides get on that fresh painted line. He overcooks it. Back end goes out, and it looks like a full 360, but at that point the car is stalled. So local yellow, it stays green.
Again, the AMR safety team there to assist this rookie driver and get him fired up and get him going again as quickly as possible. So 45 into this 85 lap race, the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. There's a good sign. He's fired up and away he goes.
Great call.
So I was just going to say, in terms of when you pit, you got to think Newgarden's going to take the first opportunity to get off those tires, because it's going to be hanging on for dear life over these next 9 laps until he's in the window.
All right, let's hear from Scott Dixon, who was entering this race with high hopes, a little frustrated after qualifying. That frustration has grown now, Kevin.
Lots of reason to be frustrated with a fast car, and as Marty mentioned, just lost drive, and I know you don't really know what the issue was, so let's go back to a couple of incidents within the race. The contact with Pato O'Ward that set you back early, how did you see that?
I don't know. To me, I haven't seen proper replays of it yet, but that seemed extremely late. Yeah, but it starts way before that. Like, we're already committed to the corner. Like, I understand there's tire deg and all that kind of stuff going on, but you know, I wouldn't have chosen to do that. But if that's how the series wants us to race, then I guess it's all gloves off from this point, and that's how it would be. So yeah, disappointed with that. And then you know, I don't know what happened at the end there. We kind of just passed the 60 car, I think, and then lost drive after that and got back to the pits. So frustrating day. You know, it's going to be hard on the strategy that we were, and plus the start was a complete joke as well. So you know, I don't know what they're calling up there, but you know, it seemed like row 6 or 5 went way before even the leader did.
Thanks, Scott. Sorry you're out early.
It's one of those days to forget for Scott Dixon, and you saw while Scott was speaking, Will Power round up his teammate Scott McLaughlin. It's still Newgarden, Kirkwood and Grosjean at the front. Here in Long Beach, and I want to remind you that American Legion is dedicated to helping veterans through their toughest times by creating an outlet for vets to be the one to ask, listen and reach out for help. Learn more at www.betheone.org. And the American Legion Honda is racing here today in the hands of young Kiwi Marcus Armstrong, who's doing a really nice job in just his second ever Indycar race. He's running in 9th in his Chip Ganassi Racing Honda. This is Kyle Kirkwood, and he is trying to be the race leader again. That's Joseph Newgarden up ahead. Let's go for a ride. Into turn 6. Hinch, tell us what you like, what you see.
I mean, I like that he's able to run so close without seemingly having to work the tires too hard. He's still saving some fuel the real key for Kyle Kirkwood right now is being able to do the overcut on Joseph Newgarden. There's definitely pace in this number 27 car that he's having to hold back. But as soon as the 2 pulls into the pits, he'll have clean track, rip off a good lap or 2, come into the pits and try to cycle out in front. So I really like the look of this car right now.
Some action here with Scott McLaughlin and Alex Palou, the 10 car, the green car there, just kind of fading over in the brake zone. Very light contact, but that's at terminal velocity, over 180 miles an hour.
A little bit rude, but no real harm done there. But McLaughlin really falling back on those alternate tires.
He's got to hang on, Diff, for about another 3 laps before he can come to pit lane, and then this happened.
Marcus Ericsson has been on a real surge. And even if he has to try and do it in another orthodox way, unfortunately it didn't work out for the Indy 500 winner there because he overshot a little bit. Watch this. Goes to the inside of Colton Herta.
You see the huge bumpy hits. It sort of gets the car oscillating a little bit. He locks up, does a great job to get the car rolling again and avoid the wall, but loses the position back to Herta.
Colton Herta with an equally impressive bit of driving there to cross up Ericsson at the exit of 1. I got to think Kirkwood's going to start to press now to make the move.
This is Devlin DiFrancesco in the Capstone Honda in the green, white and red car there. You see on your left, you're on board with Christian Lundgaard in the Hy-V Honda. They race up the back. There's Santino Ferrucci going through on the inside. Ferrucci was fighting with Pato O'Ward. Ferrucci now gets 13th place in that Sexton Properties AJ Foyt Chevy. This is only the 2nd time Ferrucci has raced here on the streets of Long Beach, and Ericsson did get Colton Herta in the end.
I wonder where that happened.
He's had such good pace all weekend long. He got sort of caught up in that turn 8 incident with Pato O'Ward, lost a bunch of track position, but the car right now, this number 8 red and white Husky chocolate car right down the inside of turn 1. Textbook stuff. No real fight from Colton Herta there.
And Ericsson takes a page out of his teammate Alex Palou's book. A little bit of a fade here to just kind of seal off Colton Herta from making the crossover move work once again. And by moving his car over to the right, Ericsson had a little bit more grip in the brake zone than he did on the previous attempt. Now Ericsson's kind of gapping Colton Herta in a big way, trying to catch up to the top 3 cars. Look who's in the pit. The 2. That's in early.
This is exactly what Kyle Kirkwood wants to see. He's now got to push, be all over that push to pass, try and get as many quick laps as he can, Marty, as we see the number 2 come to pit lane.
And this was the debate that we were having. Would you gamble on maybe caution coming late in the race? Those numbers, Townsend, that you wondered about, it will show cautions usually come here late in the Long Beach race. Those primaries going on for Joseph Newgarden, 33 to go. Final stop of the day, wanted no changes on the car.
And Marty, that puts Kirkwood, Grosjean, Ericsson into the danger zone as Pato O'Ward taking the same strategy. And I think Kirkwood and Andretti, they're going to have to cover here, Marty, as O'Ward comes to the box.
Yeah, and I think these Chevy teams just needed to come a little bit earlier. Also, those alternate tires falling off so much.
Fuel alarm that you see going off on Kyle Kirkwood's dash there, the red and white lights. You hear the call from the team, and Grosjean's in the pits, Dave.
His teammate Grosjean gives up 2nd place. He'll get fresh, unused Firestone primary tires on there. No changes elsewise to the 28 car.
Out goes that DHL Honda. Alexander Rossi there in the NTT data machine for Arrow McLaren. He dives in. It's been a really solid run by Alexander, the 2-time Long Beach winner. Marty?
Yeah, it's been a nice run for the 2-time Long Beach winners. You mentioned Diff in 7th when he came to pit road. So the car much better on this run. So going a little bit longer in the Chevy for Rossi. Traffic on pit road, as you can see. Let's see where Rossi blends out.
Let's see what happens with Grosjean blending out. Where's Joseph Newgarden? Grosjean gets out ahead. So he makes the overcut work, but Grosjean's on cold tires. Newgarden's got a lap of temperature in those Firestones.
And Kyle Kirkwood hasn't come into the pits yet, but I'm seeing he's got stuck behind some traffic. That's going to really hurt him on that in-lap. So important to get the best lap time that he can. He's diving into the pits now. It's all in the hands of the pit crew and this outlap.
Dave Burns?
You said it, guys. What is the in-lap like? How bad will that be? Fresh primaries going on the 27 car. Kyle is in his marks well. Team gets him going, and he nails it. Kevin.
Marcus Ericsson comes in from second. He's going to primaries. He's back out. He's going to easily beat Colton Herta, who is the only one that had tire choice, but he doesn't feel like he can make the alternates last the rest of the way. Primary Firestones and Shell Fuel, and Herta back out.
And coming out of the hairpin is Romain Grosjean and Joseph Newgarden. Look on your screen to the bottom there. Here it is. It's a drag race. Kirkwood is off that pit lane speed limiter. He's going down to the bottom there. Here comes his teammate. Kirkwood's going to beat them both out, but he's on cold tires. Can he hang tough? Can he do what Newgarden did last year? It's all to play for with 31 to go.
Andretti Autosport running 1-2 at Long Beach after making their last round of stops. And for Kyle Kirkwood, he got it done on that in-lap. Low fuel, he saved the pace, and he turned up the wick to get the lead.
2 laps more than Joseph Newgarden, 1 lap more than his teammate Romain Grosjean, and that was the key for sure. Got a nice gap when he came out, even though his tires are cold. Doing a great job on this outlap, keeping Grosjean at bay. This is a brilliant, brilliant execution.
And for the driver of the 27, most importantly, he has the most fuel to use to get to the end. Meanwhile, Newgarden's going to have to save to make it there.
More action on pit road. Here's Marty.
Yeah, coming down Alex Palou, the last of the leaders to come down pit road. Not the run that he's wanted so far today, kind of hanging out in the back half of the top 10. They'll see if this running longer helps them out. 30 to go, and maybe you can gain some track position with this, Diff.
There goes that Ridgeline Lubricants Honda of Alex Palou. He finished third here a couple of years ago when he was crowned champion. But it's the young man from Florida, Kyle Kirkwood, leading the way. Could this be the day he gets his first IndyCar victory? GP.com. Welcome back. Lee Diffie, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, Kevin Lee, Dave Burns, Marty Snyder, enjoying a wonderful Sunday afternoon on the streets of Long Beach, California, where the action has been awesome, to say the least. A race that's seen 2 cautions just for 7 laps. Helio Castro Neves, unfortunately, was the catalyst for the first one on the opening lap exiting turn 1. He's still in the race. He's out of contention, unfortunately, as he's way back in 21st, 1 lap down. Up front, it is Kyle Kirkwood, who leads the way by over a second over his Andretti Autosport teammate Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, we talked all race about tire compound, but that's out the window at this point, as the top 5 drivers battling out for the win, all on the same compound. In fact, the top 20 drivers all on the same compound. A straight-up fist fight to the finish.
Dave Burns, what do you have?
Talked to Will Power on the grid just before the start of this race, asked him if everything was okay. He didn't start in the top 5, but he said it was, and we have pretty much a car that will come together at the end of the stint, just like his teammates. However, we haven't seen him able to go very much forward. He was able to make a little time early, but Power, the reigning champion, still running in 8th.
I want to add to that Will Power story too. It's been a tough year for Will because his wife Liz has had some health challenges. Pleased to hear, speaking with Will the other day, that Liz is doing better. Liz, continue your speedy recovery. We would love to see you back at the track whenever possible, so keep doing what you're doing and be healthy, get well. Your husband's doing well in 8th. He's trying his best to try and get up there into the top 5. Lead Team Penske driver is Joseph Newgarden behind the Andretti Autosport duo. Marcus Ericsson is the best for Chip Ganassi Racing, and here he is here on the inside of Joseph Newgarden. That's for a spot on the podium.
Look out, Andretti. Here comes the Ganassi boy, Ericsson, clear of Newgarden, and now Ericsson can really press the pace.
This is just a great drive for Marcus Ericsson. Got caught up in that incident earlier, fell a little bit back, but he is just methodically getting passes done on the racetrack. It's a big gap up to these two here, the leaders, Kyle Kirkwood, Romain Grosjean. You see it there. It's about 6 seconds on the racetrack. He's got 26 laps to do it. This is what I want to pay attention to now. How quickly can this number 8 chase down the leading Andretti duo?
Joseph Newgarden's led 27 laps to this point, hence sitting in 4th right now. What's the plan for the final 26 of this race? Listen on the radio.
It is what it is now. You got to save a ton of fuel for us. We got like fuel 90 to the end. Sit there and say we'll sort it later. We just save what we can here.
And that is a big number for him to save. In fact, a moment ago, the reason the 8 of Marcus Ericsson went past Joseph Newgarden, Tim Cindric said, you're going to have to let the 8 go by and the 26 of Colton Herta if we even have a shot to make it to the end.
I'll tell you, another thing that's going to play into this, guys, is push to pass. Look at how many seconds Grosjean has left. 158. Kirkwood just 70. Ericsson only 37. So Romain Grosjean has a ton of boost to use over these next 25 laps. How does he play it?
And guess what? Guess what portion of the race Romain Grosjean was strongest in last year? The one we're in right now. The final 30-odd laps, Grosjean came to life and just hounded Joseph Newgarden. Couldn't get by him for the win, but it most certainly could be today. In his third year of IndyCar racing, first year with Dale Coyne, last year his first year with Andretti Autosport. We thought a win may have come last year, but it wasn't to be. This year, he has been in contention in both St. Petersburg, Florida and Texas Motor Speedway in the closing stanza of the race, all to see it go away with crashes. However, today it's been a cleaner, more confident run.
And James, if I'm Romain Grosjean, I'm happy right now to just ride for a bit. Just study my teammate Kyle Kirkwood, conserve my tires. My team will tell me exactly where I am on push to pass with that advantage. How do you think he plays it?
I think he knows there's a good chance of yellow, so it's a smart move. You got to just kind of keep track of your teammate, like you say, study his weaknesses, but don't fry those firestones, because there might be a yellow, and you want that extra rubber when it counts.
And if there is a yellow, you can count on this yellow and black Gainbridge car to having a good shot. Look at Colton Herta lighting up the rears out of turn 6. Colton Herta doesn't need to save as much fuel as Newgarden either. If he can clear Newgarden, you'll have 3 Andretti cars in the top 4 for the final phase.
And guys, I'm looking at that gap for Marcus Ericsson. It was 6.2 a lap ago, down to 5.7. The sneaky Swede. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. We've talked about it over the weekend. What he's been so good at in all of his victories, Marcus Ericsson, is that last portion of the race. He knows how to close out these races. To steal a NASCArism from Kevin Harvick, he's kind of our closer. As Colton Herta now is making that move on the 2, just cannot defend.
There we go. We heard Marty talk about it earlier. Joseph Newgarden knew that was coming for this Gainbridge Honda to go by him. They're in massive fuel save, fuel conservation mode. And Colton Herta, Marty, on the opposite side. He can still go attack mode.
Yeah, they told him again, you got to let the 26 go. Sorry. So, Hinch, is there anything worse as a driver than that to say, hey, you got to let that guy pass you?
I mean, being out of the race, not finishing, doing a splash and go at the end. There's a few things, but there's no doubt it's tough. Definitely some frustration inside the helmet of Joseph Newgarden right now. But he's got to think big picture. You know, he's bolted himself up into championship contention. If they finish as they run right now, he'd be up to P2 in the championship after a DNF in the first round. So not going to go his way today for the result, but you have to think long term.
Quick update on rookies. Marcus Armstrong is the best of the bunch in 10th. Going very well. Stingray Rob is running in 19th. Benjamin Peterson in 24th. And Augustine Canapino at the back. $20 laps remain in this Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach here in the NTT IndyCar Series. It's the 3rd round of this season. And want to remind you that NTT IndyCar Series drivers and their teams will again compete for more than $1 million in the People Ready Force for Good Challenge by being the first driver to win a series race on all 3 different types of circuit, oval, street, and of course road course. And that man there, Joseph Newgarden, he got the People Ready Force for Good Challenge, $1 million challenge done and won in the first 8 races of last season. It was an incredible accomplishment, and People Ready were happy to see it get done, and contact between Alex Palou and Joseph Newgarden. We should say a flailing Joseph Newgarden. This will be so frustrating and spirit-crushing just to be sitting there trying to get to the end on fuel over these closing 19 laps as everybody's coming on attack.
But I think James said it best before the break. Team Penske can remind Newgarden where he is in the championship, that big picture.
Either that or finish 18th.
There you go.
And that was Tim Cindric. That was actually Joseph Newgarden saying, this is painful, and it's a big ask what you're asking me to do to save this amount of fuel. And Tim coming back, hey, it's better than finishing the last car on the lead lap.
Exactly. If you guys weren't with us yesterday for the sports car race, Porsche Team Penske won in the IMSA WeatherTech Series. It's unlikely that a Penske car will win today. Here's Palou and Newgarden, the replay.
Yeah, I mean, Palou will have smelled blood in the water. He would have that. He would have that information from his team. But there's a replay here. Romain Grosjean.
Understand that he clipped the wall on the driver's left there.
Oh yeah.
Boy, that would be a painful moment. You're going to watch the steering here to see if there's alignment. And normally what you look for is on the top end of the wheel, when he comes straight here before the brake zone, is that wheel level and square across? It doesn't look too bad, but clipping concrete at 100 miles an hour is dicey.
Townsend, nothing so far from Grosjean on the radio. I caught up with him just after the 30-minute morning practice this morning. They call it a warm-up, and teams use it for a variety of reasons. Grosjean told me, we wanted to try something else to make our DHL Honda better. I didn't like it. They went back to what kept him in the top 5 all weekend in practice and helped that car qualify 3rd, and he's very quick. We'll keep an eye on that contact.
And guys, the numbers don't lie. He was 1.9 seconds behind teammate Kirkwood. He's now 1.4. So, going well.
And looking at push to pass, Grosjean still with 153 seconds. Kirkwood 57.
He's got almost 3 times as fast.
Yes, he does.
Almost 3 times as much. With 18 laps, almost 17 laps to go.
Like a fat wallet at the club.
Yeah, he's definitely push to pass rich right now. Kyle Kirkwood's going to know that, but Grosjean might have to use a good chunk of that even just to catch up to his teammate, close that gap, to put himself in a position to go for the pass.
All right. How big a deal is it for Kyle Kirkwood to have conducted himself the way that he has? In all of the junior formula, the road to Indy, he has been stellar. He was the most hyped rookie coming in last year because of that track record. This guy doesn't know anything but winning. He's even won in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. But his rookie year last year was not good. It was frustrating. There was lots of big moments, but there were also lots of big disappointments. However, today he's driving like a series veteran. Let's have a quick listen to some radio, then the boys will comment.
Okay, good job. Let's stay on fuel 85 or better. Fuel 85 or better. This will help us later if we can give you some more. Yeah, copy. Sorry about the loss, too.
Look at that. Great conversation, and what a huge gain for Kyle Kirkwood to have Brian Herta, one of the best strategists and one of the calmest voices on the radio. In anxious moments, good times, bad times, Brian Herta is a steady set of hands and has guided so many young drivers to victory in IndyCar. So pretty magic combination coming here together.
But it's also the calm that you're hearing in Kyle Kirkwood is very impressive. We've talked about his junior Formula Car career. We know he's no stranger to winning, but winning at this level is different, and he has done everything he's needed to do up to this point. And every time we've heard him on the radio, you know, when they were explaining the Newgarden situation earlier, he said, oh yeah, cool, no problem. You know, he's been very calm, very level-headed, didn't get flustered when he did lose the lead at that phase. And he's driving like a pro.
And thinking, acknowledging that, hey, I could have done a better job for you there. I'm aware. I'll put it to good use going forward. So going to be fun to watch these two teammates go for their first win.
Well, that's just it. You know, you've got the driver in his 3rd season. You've got his teammate in his 3rd race. If Kyle Kirkwood pulls off that first win before Romain Grosjean, do we start seeing some tensions? I don't know. Dave Burns.
Back to strategist Brian Herta. Remember, for the Herta family, Southern California is home. And Brian told me this morning that having Kyle Kirkwood is sort of like having a second son, and I want to know him, so I know when to fight his fights, when I know when to let him go. So on Friday evening, they had an intimate dinner. We're talking Brian, his wife, Colton's brother, right here in downtown. They got together. They wanted to know more about each other. They're learning each other, and Brian Herta wants to know how to coach this kid on, perhaps to his first victory. Maybe here today, Kevin.
Dave, Marcus Ericsson last lap, a half a second better than Kyle Kirkwood. He's cutting into that a little bit. We've talked throughout the weekend and the year how much has changed after 5 really rough seasons in Formula One. Had very little confidence coming to IndyCar. By year 2, started to get some back, winning the Indy 500 changed everything, but he still wanted more. A mental coach added in the offseason to try to go for a championship, and he stands now to lead the points. But remember, a year ago, it's about this time, running in the same position when it all went wrong. Gave away a lot of points with a slight mistake, and then the car could not be rescued. Could have continued, but in a spot where they can't get it, and then a really frustrating end of the race. And I think some guys in the booth can speak to this a little bit. Stranded over there, and then a lot of memes on social media, sitting in, viewing the rest of the race. He told me a couple of days ago, people were trying to be nice to me, offering water, how's it going? And it was basically, I'd like to be left alone. I'm not happy right now, but he is happy today.
Look, this guy's got a smile on his face pretty much every time you see him. He is so proud of that Indianapolis 500 win, as he should be. And it's a new Marcus Ericsson, a more mature, confident Marcus Ericsson, who will lead this championship again.
Ahead of Kyle Kirkwood. It's been blissfully smooth sailing the last 15 laps or so, just 11 to go. But like so many times we see in IndyCar, it is lap traffic. You've got Connor Daly and Agustin Canapino many laps down.
Let's give a shout out to Connor. He's in his 100th NTT IndyCar Series race. Congratulations to the Bitnile Chevy driver, the Ed Carpenter Racing pilot, who heads back home. We've got to go to Barber Motorsports Park first in a couple of weeks, but this week we will be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a 2-day test in the lead-up, Kevin Lee, to the month of May in the Indianapolis 500, where last year this guy led some 40 laps.
He cannot wait to get to Indianapolis and prepare for the 500. Long Beach is a special place too. He won his first Indy Lights, as it was known then, race, now Indy Next, and came away as the championship leader. He always kind of wonders what might have been, and he's asked about it. That was the year that Joseph Newgarden won the Lights championship, and then that propelled him. Connor was still pursuing Formula One and finished third in the F3 championship, GP3 championship that year. He also got his first start outside of Indianapolis here in 2015, and that was a late call-up in the middle of the weekend, filling in for an injured driver. Hasn't gone great this weekend, but Connor Daly, as you said, is ready for Indy.
And doing a good thing there for Kyle Kirkwood, getting out of the way. It's not like Connor's on the tail end of the lead lap. He's already a lap down, so that blue flag mandate from the corner workers is an expectation that you'll move over and let the leaders pass.
Here comes Romain Grosjean, still with an abundance of push-to-pass seconds left, but you only use that if you've got an abundance of fuel in your tank. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation as we get down to the final 9 laps. How much fuel does Grosjean have left in comparison to his teammate Kyle Kirkwood? And where is Marcus Ericsson? Ericsson is now less than 3 seconds away. There he is. He's now starting to zero in on the second place Romain Grosjean.
He has absolutely chewed that gap up in the last few laps. Connor Daly will move to the side here and let Ericsson go. I'm very impressed with the pace that he's able to do and still maintain the fuel number. He is on the same sort of program. He pit on the same lap as Kyle Kirkwood, a lap later than Romain Grosjean, so he's actually a lap to the good on that yellow and red DHL car right in front of him. This might not be over, guys. These podium positions are not sorted yet.
Ericsson has the pace, but he doesn't have those precious push-to-pass seconds. Just 37 left. 57 for Kirkwood, but 153 for Grosjean. So Grosjean, by being so stingy, so frugal with push to pass, can defend when he needs to.
Providing he's got enough fuel to do it.
Well, we'll have to monitor the radio. We'll get some help from pit lane on that to see, Dave Burns, if they might be giving Grosjean any guidance on where he sits on fuel numbers with just 8 laps left.
Townsend, they have not given him the green light yet, but when they do, he'll be like a gamer on the button who has a new weapon. But so far, still up in the 150 range. Grosjean waiting for the moment to pounce. Remember, he came in a lap earlier than his teammate Kyle Kirkwood, who leads.
And if he stays where he is and finishes second in this Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, he'll say, oh no, not again. He's finished second 3 times in his short IndyCar career. Twice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. And it would be twice here at the Acura Grand Prix at Long Beach. That win is close. It's getting closer. But win for Romain Grosjean. When they come to the line this time, it'll be just 7 laps to go. Andretti Autosport is in great shape, but don't discount Chip Ganassi racer and reigning Indy 500 winner, Marcus Ericsson, in that white and red car in the background, Kev.
And that gap was more than 5 seconds not that long ago. It's been cut in half. Ericsson is being told that Grosjean pitted a lap earlier. I think they feel like they're going to get him because they're talking more about Kirkwood, who pitted on the same lap. But Ericsson is not done yet.
this is that third part of the race that we were talking about earlier, the closer. He's really great at preserving his car, preserving his track position earlier in the race, and even with the issue he got caught up in, he lost the track position, but he put the bit between his teeth and showing that Chip Ganassi Racing have very good street course cars. It was all Ganassi and Andretti in qualifying. 3 of the top 5 were Chip Ganassi Racing entries yesterday in qualifying. Palou had some issues. You know, we know that Dixon is out. Marcus Ericsson really the only option they got left for a strong result.
So now just trying to think forward with 7 laps to go. What's Kirkwood have in his future? Well, there he is. Pato O'Ward is the last car on the lead lap, and Pato's last lap time was about 1.5 seconds slower than Kyle Kirkwood. So you do the math. The gap is about 4 seconds between that orange and black car and Kirkwood. Why does that matter? Because O'Ward does not have to let Kirkwood by. He's still on the lead lap.
All right, guys, let's remind ourselves what kind of a ride it's been this year for Kyle Kirkwood in this Auto Nation Honda for Andretti Autosport. Let's go back to his home state of Florida, St. Petersburg. He qualified in the Firestone Fast 6, but in the race, he looked like a supercross rider, up and over and down. And then 2 weeks ago at Texas Motor Speedway, has a pit lane altercation with Alexander Rossi. And these were 2 results to forget about for this young racer. However, today, it is completely different. He wins his first NTT P1 pole position yesterday, and he has led the most laps of this race of anyone. 47 laps led thus far, Dave, and is looking good for his first ever IndyCar Series race win.
And Lee, you know drivers talk about putting an entire weekend together, practice fast, qualifying fast, finishing it off with a win. As you just pointed out with that video, he's not done it yet this year. When I talked to him about it this week, I expected him to say something like the team needs it, the championship needs it, but he was more focused on the public perception that he is an incident causer, that he gets into trouble on track and puts others in a bad spot. So he wants to correct that. He wants to show that when the weekend goes well, he can stay out of trouble, be up front, and be that winner. First-time winner in the IndyCar Series. Remember, his team owner, Michael Andretti, got his first win here back in 1986.
This is good stuff. He's really good friends with young American Formula One driver Logan Sargent. The 2 Floridians, they're great mates. They both cheer for each other in their respective series. Logan will be delighted to watch his good friend perform so well. He's not there yet, but he's getting closer and closer.
He's getting closer and closer to Pato O'Ward, too, who's about 1 second slower, as we talked about already. So the question is, how does O'Ward play this? He's really not in the mix for anything further up the road. He's also driving a Chevrolet with 5 Hondas running in the top 5.
Yeah, it could be interesting to see. I mean, if I'm Kirkwood,
he does not.
I'm almost trying to control that gap. I almost don't want to catch Pato O'Ward at this point.
And I heard Brian Herta say, no, he does not. I think Kyle must have asked him, does O'Ward have to pull over? And Brian is telling him, no, he does not. So let's see if there's a fly in the works here.
The rule in IndyCar is you have to be a lap down to the entire field before the command blue is shown. But Pato O'Ward doing the right thing. Great move.
And that'll come back to Pato O'Ward somewhere in their respective careers. Kirkwood will repay that favor, I'm sure. So Kyle Kirkwood with a little bit of a sigh of relief there. 4 laps in front of him, Diff, just 3.5 at Long Beach. It's all for the taking.
Those 2 were teammates in Indy Lights, obviously still friends, a lot of respect between them. So, again, a very great move, gentlemanly driver move right there from Pato O'Ward to let the top 3 go and let this race carry on with 4 to go.
While we're enjoying this action up front, I want to give a shout-out to some other drivers a little further back. Marcus Armstrong, lead rookie and lead Kiwi of the 3 New Zealanders in this race. The youngster is in the top 10. Santino Ferrucci for AJ Foyt Racing.
30 seconds.
They just told Grosjean that you can use 30 seconds if you're pushed to pass these last 3 laps. That was the go signal. He's been saving so much fuel up to this point.
So he can use 30 seconds of his 153 seconds. You can use it in 20-second squirts if you need to. The other driver who's put in a great performance other than Santino Ferrucci a little further back, Graham Rahal, making up 11 positions from where he started.
I don't see that thumb of Grosjean moving just yet, Hinchcliffe. You tell me I've got an extra 50 horsepower with a win in front of me, I'm going to be all over that button.
No, I'm waiting to use it all in one lap. Close up that gap and try to initiate that pass. Here he goes. He used a little bit right there just to get a good jump off of turn 9. He'll probably use a little bit again to get a jump off the hairpin, but he needs to be closer than a second to have a legitimate shot. And remember, Kyle still has a lap more of fuel.
Yeah.
He's got enough push. He's got more than 30 seconds of push to pass, so he could probably defend second for second.
Now Grosjean's on the button. He's ready to go. 2 laps to go at the line here.
Brian Herter on the left bottom box. Olivier Boisson on the right bottom box. The engineer of Romain Grosjean on the radio. They're both taking a look. Both getting a little nervous. There's less than 4 miles of racing to go. Marcus Ericsson would dearly love to steal this second spot away from Romain Grosjean, the 2 former F1 drivers. Battling it out here on the closing stages of the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. And for either Kirkwood or Grosjean, if they were to get the victory, they would join a list of drivers like Michael Andretti, our old mate PT, Paul Tracy, Juan Pablo Montoya, Mike Conway and Takuma Sato as drivers to win their first ever IndyCar race on these famed streets of Long Beach.
What must be going through Kirkwood's head? I got to tell you, this guy, I've been his teammate, the Vassar Sullivan Lexus team in sports car racing. I know how mentally strong he is. Nothing has really rattled him so far in his IndyCar career, but this has to be the most pressure he's faced so far.
And he's going to see the white flag with a clear track ahead. What a great feeling for Kyle Kirkwood.
To the finish here, bud.
1 to go. Get to the finish, bud. You got less than 2 miles, Kyle Kirkwood, before you're an IndyCar race winner.
And to get
hard as you want.
To get your first one here, he's been told he can go as hard as he wants. This is essentially one of the majors of open wheel racing, the Grand Prix of Long Beach. This will mean so much to this young driver, Alexander Rossi, it looks like, down in the tires.
That's terrible for Rossi, who was having a really good race.
That's down in turn 9, I believe. That's very unfortunate. He was running comfortably in the top 10.
He was in the top 10, and that was going to bode well for his points haul as well. In the NTT data, Arrow McLaren Chevy. What a shame. Last time up the back straight for Kyle Kirkwood. One of the most celebrated road to Indy drivers because of his phenomenal winning record. He had to answer a lot of uncomfortable questions last year in his rookie year. It didn't pan out the way that he had hoped, but the famous Andretti name with a young American behind the wheel, Kyle Kirkwood, is your latest IndyCar race winner. He wins the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Let's go, Lord! Yeah! Oh my gosh, thank you so much, guys. Amazing job, amazing job.
There is Michael Andretti celebrating. Brian Herter on the radio. Brian has a habit of being that calm voice to talented young drivers and getting them to victory lane. He's done it again with the AutoNation Honda of Kyle Kirkwood.
And how about the comeback for Andretti Autosport? You look at the first 2 races across 4 cars, that's 8 finishes, only 1 inside the top 10. Here today, we have 3 in the top 5, including a 1-2 sweep. Just such a needed turnaround for this group that had such a rough start to the season.
And really a perfect score on the weekend. They rolled off the trucks fast, they qualified well, they raced well, the strategy was right, and the teammates respected each other but pressed all the way to the line.
What a day for this 24-year-old Floridian. It's time to celebrate. The questions now can be celebratory questions because Kyle Kirkwood has answered them all. With this, a victory, his first in IndyCar at Long Beach. It doesn't get much better than that.